Yeah, welcome very, very much to Conversation. A pleasure to welcome to the program one of MNN's own, that being Frank Craven. Frank Craven's an actor, and he's a artist, and he's also the producer of a program airing regularly on MNN called WAHA, What's Ailing and Healing America. And Frank, welcome so very, very much to Conversation.
Thank you, Harold. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be here.
I was telling her I was going to introduce you as a sellout, to the shill for the American establishment, but it isn't quite the case. But anyway, one of the things we're going to do, we're going to talk about a lot of things. We have some of it celebrating this equinox when we're doing this program, because I know you have a deep sense of ecology and so forth, and you've got a critique of a good deal of the way the organizing assumptions and institutions of American and world society. You have a critique that will be coming out, obviously. But you also come, I wonder if we couldn't talk a little bit, Frank, about your own distinct personal background, because you come from a very distinguished family background. Is that not the case?
Well, yes, indeed. Actually, I was written up in Equity News this month about my family. My great-grandpa had Frank, and then my dad, John. They were stars from yesteryear, related to the Barrymores, and they were all Broadway and theatrical and early Hollywood luminaries. My dad trailblazed the first lead actor in television with The Egg and I.
Yeah, your dad, John, that was John.
John, yeah, he was the first George. He was juvenile lead in our town.
Yeah. But let me sort of voice it out, because you have a family, and I was at your house that you had, that family, and I visited with you at Salt Point, up to state New York. They had a house that had been the family house, and it absolutely just sang of intellectual, interesting people that came out of a theater background that goes, I guess, your family goes all the way back to the time of Wilkes Booth or Lincoln or something like that.
Yeah, my grandpa, John T. Craven, started with Joseph Jefferson and John Wilkes Booth and stuff.
Yeah, and also I would say I had a friend, we had a party one time, and I had a friend that I walked back to Central Park, back to station, the train station, and he said John would have a son and he would name him Frank, and then Frank would have a son and he would name him John, and then John would have a friend and he'd name him Frank, and it was John, Frank, Frankel, and all the way back. It was really kind of funny, and your dad was there, and your grandfather was Frank Craven, who would be well known to many people of you, because he was a major Hollywood actor and so forth.
Right. He wrote the Laurel and Hardy films and various other films. Ghostwriter for MGM, script doctor and character actor, with a pipe-smoking gentleman and stuff. Yeah,
they'll remember him. He was the the narrator of Our Town.
No, the stage manager.
Stage manager.
Yeah. And he was slated for the lead, of course, but Jed Harris, who was the director, insisted that my dad play the part of George, and my grandpa said, "No, John's too young, too green. Let him play Howie Newsom." But no, and my dad went on to get good reviews and stuff.
Yeah, your dad, John, did. Yeah, he did.
And it's in the genes. Acting is a natural talent.
Okay, that's something we can talk about.
Got it, or they don't. An actor can study, and still be stiff.
Yeah.
Or a person could not have studied, but has this natural flair of bringing lines to life, and finding the sincerity within.
You think that's a general characteristic of human society? Some people have it, some don't. Or you're talking now about specific acting, right? It's a different kind of way of being than normal,
right,
and so forth.
Well, it's good to study and learn anything. Any craft requires discipline and practice, but in reality, there's a magic that happens when you're connected to the script, the story, the audience, and everything, and you're just on mark, on cue, and on the spot.
Yeah, and it's one of the, it goes back to Pericles in Greece or something, theater.
Yeah.
Theater is one of the major art forms that we have had over a long and distinguished part of human society. I mean, it's a major kind of field of artistic expression, right?
Right.
And I think it's being recognized now more and more venues for acting, too. There's a lot, because they're now developing things for just the distribution of the internet. They had a piece on Newsweek, or News Hour last night, about how there's so many more venues opening up for acting and so forth, because we're coming into a multimedia kind of world. it was there again that I recall. We were back at the town. I mean the family setting there that you had in Salt Point. You had pictures of people from the theater and from the intellectual community,
right.
And it just sang. I mean, the whole setting that you had there, it just sang of that being a place where there would have been the gathering of some of the intellectual and artistic luminaries of the time, going back into the history of this country with the photographs of the people that had been involved with that house. It was a magic place.
Well, yeah, it was a premier house of Salt Point, and it was built in 1823, but that wasn't always the family house. My grandpa in his heyday had a place up in Great Neck and also in Beverly Hills and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, you know, he wrote many hits on Broadway. I've written a few off-Broadway shows. You can buy them at Amazon.com called Two Comedies on God, which are two comedies I staged that poke fun at God and the religious fervor that people have where they surrender themselves to their spirituality, which is what is happening now. We're opening up or awakening conscious to the fact that we are spiritual beings, but not necessarily religious beings. Because the problem with the world is religions are a byproduct of political control, to control the masses and take God outside and bow in submission to the priest or the rabbi and Hussein and and take away your power. But Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha were revolutionaries that made you realize that you are the power, you are the guru, you are the yogi, you are the master, and God is living inside of you. And the most sacred temple is right here between your eyebrows and your ears. This is the temple of God. Yeah, and actually the big challenge is to go from your head, your mind, down into your heart, and able to express yourself from the core of your being, and then you suddenly divide between the devil and the angels, or hell and heaven. Wherein in our hell we're with our ego, and in heaven we're in our community, and we're in sharing and love. It's the divine feminine, as the yin yang, the Pingala Anita goes through our systems of negative positive charges, like electricity. We need negative and positive to run electricity. Right. It's all about balance. So well, you just said
the
mind versus the heart.
Yeah, you just said a mouthful that could be taken grist for psychology, political organization, and so forth. And one remembers that Socrates, particularly when you have people you have an established order, political. We have that now. We have a confrontation between an established order that humanity has inherited out of history that seems to have major systemic flaws that are causing things like Occupy and other kinds of people on a mass scale to question the assumptions of the supposed political, economic legitimacy of the system that's in place.
Well, I'm sorry, there's no more legitimacy, Harold. I'm sorry to pop your bubble, but unfortunately, legitimacy is over. Bush stole the elections in 2000, and now Obama carries on with illegitimate mandates, so long as the Patriot Act and now the NDAA has shredded not only the Bill of Rights, which is 200 years of social justice, but the Magna Carta, which is 800 years of justice. A person deserves a phone call. We don't have a right to go kidnapping people. But this all started with Reagan, you know, actually Project Paperclip, tracing back to World War II when they allowed the best minds and they culled from the Nazis and brought them into America. So Werner von Braun got us to the moon, and during Reagan's time when he put a wreath at Bitburg on a Nazi grave.
I remember,
Yeah, his Secretary of Defense, Caspar Weinberger, Secretary of State, Schultz, and they changed the helmet into a stormtrooper helmet. And so that's why I'm wearing this glove as a symbol of the dead people. Every day, as a result of this failed policies, illegitimate, 17 soldiers commit suicide.
Yeah, I know.
We have an ongoing failed policy that's atrocious. The returning vets, ever since the Gulf War syndrome, have not been attended to properly, and the ongoing devastation of our boys and girls that have defended our freedom, are now being treated like, you know, dog dirt, as they've always been, and are now, you know, committing suicide on an ongoing, escalating scale.
You said a mouthful there, as though we've come to a point of degradation, but it seems to me in a certain sense like also it's generational, because the youth comes along and usually they are interested in something new and so forth, and it was Socrates who was made to drink the hemlock for having corrupted the youth. So that the youth, or the people who are questioning the political authority of the day, is a problem, and that comes out very often by the artistic community that stands outside of the dictates of the established order of the time. So the arts are very much in flower now in terms of a critique of things that you seem to think is getting worse than it has been throughout history, but it seems to me it's been like that throughout all of human history.
Right.
A small group ruling, claiming themselves to be legitimate, whether it's divine right of kings or the Roman empires or Hammurabi or whatever. But now we may be coming to a time where that system that is held, where a few have all the control, power, income, asset ownership, and that sort of thing is in a few hands. That's coming to be where now it's being questioned seriously in ontologic terms, in terms of a larger order of evolutionary development.
Yeah, the Arab Spring sprung up, and the Occupy movement, and people are taking back their power. Demos, kratos. In Greek, I mean demos, people, kratos, power.
Yeah.
And thanks to the internet, and people are communicating now far more faster and furiouser, and understanding that we are all connected.
Isn't it amazing?
It's
the internet.
wonderful.
It's unbelievable what's going on.
As you've said in many programs, that we, year one is 1970.
To me it is, but that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people.
No,
but I think it was.
1970, in 69, we walked on the moon, and we had Woodstock, and we just exploded in a whole new technological awareness, and as you said, we have species-lethal weaponry.
Well, that's something I wonder. Do you think that's true? That's something that we need to get modeling for, chapter and verse, if it's true, and that's at the level, it's hard to understand, that's at the level of capability. That's not the reality that can be tested. But the weapon systems do, it seems, from certain testing and modeling and so forth, that after particularly the thermonuclear and all that, although they've had start.
Well, no, let's not dwell on that.
Okay, let's not dwell on that.
I don't believe in that. We've discussed this. It's totally absurd that no one's suicidal, no one's homicidal, and all the generals or presidents in power are not sociopaths. And so it would require sociopaths in power to destroy the planet and totally destroy ourselves.
Yeah, but we haven't had
suicide.
Even if we had that in the past, we would have been impotent gestating to a point where we would have weapons that could wipe out the entire species. Yeah. Until maybe about 1970. That's what most of the models say. And we may also be transcending in terms of material reality a new dawning capability of providing for everybody on this have-not that Cervantes talked about, that there actually may be more haves at the level of capability that there has never been throughout history. There's always been scarcity for one to win, the other had to lose.
Right. Well, that's over. That's over. It's been over. It's always been over.
Always been over.
It's always been over.
Always been over
because of corruption. You know, in it like. The church pretends to be good and serve the poor, but they have all these gold things on the altar. And like the Catholic Church alone, you know, they have $170 billion in real estate holdings in New York City. It was reported.
Oh, it's huge,
and all over the world. And it's all about empire and money. But the reality, the spirituality of us is far more greater and always has been. So if we just organize, there's plenty of food, there's plenty of water. But what we have is like Nikola Tesla had a clear free energy 100 years ago, but J.P. Morgan wanted to put a meter on it, went with Thomas Edison and sabotaged his advances. But God bless Nikola Tesla's discovery, and thanks to the extraterrestrial contacts we've had with the Pleiadians, the Ryans, and various other Hathors and Earth, and Garth, and a lot of people, or extraterrestrials, have come forth, even though the Anunnaki and the reptilian agenda is totally in control, and we have monsters in power. Unfortunately, we don't have humans in power. We have people that are working out of a reptilian survival brain that are totally paranoid and consumed with their pseudo power and the materialistic goods.
Well, we do all have consciousness that is evolving. There is a reptilian core from which the other things came.
We all have that. We have 5 brains.
It was evolution,
Yeah, we have the reptilian, right, left, and then the but the important and the heart really is the main thing. But what I want to say about the transcending course, as Buckminster Fuller said, in a utopia or Bolivian, we have the capabilities, we've had it, and we are able to survive.
You said we've always had it. Is that ever since we emerged?
We've always had it, but we have accessed our fight or flight survival instincts and accessed fear.
Yeah,
now, an acronym of fear is false expectations about nothing, about reality. It's the fear factor that's not true. And the kings and the Freemason, the Skull and Bone Society, the secret criminal gangsters in power that maintain power.
I've always been there throughout all of history.
First of all, the economy is based on debt. Yeah. It's all circulating debt. And so the banks try to make money off of people, so Sandy Storm victims and people are not getting the money that they deserve. And a lot of people, you know, if Mr. Billionaire Bloomberg, whoever wanted, he couldn't even get $1 billion if he wanted, because it's all circulated, and he would need 10 trucks to take it out. And how could he spend it? So to be a billionaire is a moral crime. Well, but they believe in it, and they foster this pseudo-belief upon us.
So what's new? It's always been like that. Kings living on the castle on the hill.
That's what I'm saying. We're in zero. We're in a new year. We're in a whole paradigm shift of reality. That there is no more religion, no more belief in politics, no more belief in...
You sound like John Lennon.
Well,
no religion too.
Right. Well,
some people object to that.
John and Yoko had it clear.
They were cool. Yeah.
God bless them. You know, 34 years ago, they said no more war. War's over. I didn't understand that as a kid.
Well, what do they call that? It was
like war's over if you wanted to. We don't believe in war. It's primitive and barbaric.
Well, it is. But what was that thing that went on in Iraq where all those people were killed, or in Afghanistan, or what's threatening in Iran and all that? Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That was a criminal stealing of. No more war, por favor.
Now,
that was stealing the goods and resources.
Well, leave it up for a minute. Leave it up. Let the fellas come in on it and so forth.
Here's a painting I did, Pray for Iraq.
This is a painting of a painting for Iraq.
The idea that, you know,
no
there's a verse
war,
from the Quran that says when people think they're doing good, but they're doing harm.
Yeah, well,
so we have America's corporate malfeasance and monsters killing normal people over 1,200,000.
Yeah, and you'll notice, Frank, in all of history that whoever went to war with another tribe had a belt that said "God mit uns." Everyone says God is on their side, and they go off and fight in the same kind of thing. Anyway, what an illustrious family that you come from, and I just wanted to let the world know that and so forth. And you're an actor, and you're an artist, and so forth, and you also are an ecologist. Maybe we can hold this one up. Okay. Let's see. Maybe you try to hold it.
So the camera's on you. All right, I'll hold it. Whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Now you got. Now you see. Eco-friendly energy. Hold it steady, young man. Okay, eco-friendly energy solutions versus fossil fuel industry pollutions. Have you got that trademark? Have you got that trademark?
No, that's my new. I want everyone to say that. That's my mantra. I used to be authority versus majority for human rights.
Yeah.
Now I'm eco-friendly energy solutions versus fossil fuel industry pollutions. As a rap song and a mantra and a motto, everyone should be on the consciousness on the heels of Fukushima disaster. Germany has shut down its nuke plants, and they all slap solar panels on all the highways and buildings.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have solutions versus pollutions, and Mother Earth is a living, breathing thing. She needs her minerals, her oils, her gas, just like a human being does. And we can work with geothermal, hydro, wind, tidal power, solar power that are perpetual and friendly.
Yeah.
And that's what's with the 7th generation. We need to look forward to our future for free energy and also tap the ethers the way Nikolai Tesla was doing, where you realize that above our cloud is space, 570 degrees below zero. It's freezing cold as nothing. But in our atmosphere, there's heated molecules. And we can actually tap into that and have another source of free energy. And there's lots of technology out there and wisdom and know-how.
Yeah, but it's growing. Okay, all of that's it and everything. And then also, back to your grandfather, if you don't mind me bringing up a personal thing. I'm just so impressed with your family. You're a major element here at MNN and everything, and you continue with that work and everything. But he was a friend of the great sage W.C. Fields.
Yeah.
All
the stars.
You had that drawing in your house that had been a letter sent by W.C. Fields to your granddaddy.
No, my grandma. He was flirting with her. He was flirting. It's a funny
that's
thing.
right. And he had to. He said, "How in the world can such a lovely Dorothy? No, that was your mother.
Maisie.
Maisie. How can a Maisie have such an old retrobate to have to put up like Frank Craven, right?
Yes.
All right, and you got that.
Eskimo
you got that with a little
Rom.
Is it a Hirschfield design?
Yeah, I got a Hirschfield company.
Yeah,
I love Hirschfield. He's a great artist.
Yeah.
In honor of him, I brought a little drawing that I made, a little painting.
Okay,
this is called Picking Your Nose.
Picking Your Nose.
Or from feminine joy flow.
Yeah.
Feminine joy flow. So it's sort of like a face and everything. It's a woman. And that's sort of a fun artistic thing I did.
Yeah, that's fun.
And here's another piece. See, that was recent. This was done like 30 years ago in 77.
Oh, really?
40.
This is 30 years ago?
No, this is 1977. This
77,
is called
that's way back.
Healer.
Yeah.
And the idea is through our eyes we do the healing. We
you
can
were
actually
painting,
connect. That's
why
why people rubberneck on the highway. They have this healing instinct, or they avert blood and they don't want to look at it. But we're all connected to a visible field of light and energy that happens as we connect with what we see.
Have you always had this sort of feeling for the ecology, and you're so committed to this thing, talking about all kinds of things like other people from other parts of the universe and all this kind of thing? It's sort of outside the normal consciousness. Have you always been like that since you were a youth?
Well, of course.
When did you start picking up on? It's kind of radical, your view, if I may.
Well, no, I did my mother a favor by being born.
Okay, you did her a favor.
Over now. She prayed on ice. She had like 5 miscarriages and couldn't have it, and she had to lie in bed 8 months horizontal, and then so she prayed, and so I'm a master, and I came through, and we were actually all masters, and karma's over.
You mean the family? You're talking?
No, the human race. We're divine. This is what the crystal skulls are about, that we have divine intelligence. We are connected to source. We are all mass. That's what Jesus was trying to teach us. That's what Buddha realized 5,000 years ago. Well, we don't play the game. We play the game of ignorance, and we like to pay attention to our appetites. And as a result, we lose track of the reality that we are divine energy. We are God incarnate, doing in the third dimension what we need to do on the cutting edge of physical form. And so that's why I engage in all kinds of aspects of artistic expression.
You sure as heck do. You got them all nailed down. What haven't you done in the arts? Do you do soft shoe? Do you do George M. Cohen or not? But you got your guitar, and you do that. So you do music, painting, and you're an actor. And your SAG and all that kind of stuff.
I work in films as a character actor background. I've done foreground and principal work, but to me it's like a painting. It's all good, except the ego. It's sort of strange to be next to Mel Gibson or Tom Hanks, and they're making.
What do you mean next to them?
Well, you know, if I'm placed next to them as a background actor, I'm getting 100 or 150 a day, and they're getting 150,000 for the day,
hour,
or $1 million, $10 million for a 6-week shoot.
Quality,
which is but that's they're no more stars than I am, except that the people admire them, and the contracting community recognize their name, and it's a business. And then they hire publicists to keep their name up, and lawyers to do their contracting.
Is there any sort of?
And it's all just a business.
Is there any kind of and we're going to talk about the artist's role in terms of the society, because it seems to me like Judith Malina, they just had to close the theater. It's really sad that anarcho group down at the Clinton Theater had to close because they couldn't meet the material operating costs like that. And the arts in general. I just saw a woman I met on the bus. You can meet interesting people on the bus, a young woman, and she was a dancer. And dancing is becoming disaster as an art form. The arts are treated so cavalierly as just fluff. The arts are not necessary. Let's cut the arts. Let's cut. You know what I mean? And you're one of the core people in the arts, and partly, and they tend to be isolated or alienated from the established political order.
Right. Well, that's how the Players Club was founded, because persona non grata, actors were considered this traveling troupe of charlatans and comedians, and they were vagabonds and beggars, because the producer would make off with the box office and leave them hanging.
That's right.
And they had to go on the street and play around and memorize lines and entertain people and pass the hat.
Well, remember, the
actors were always vilified.
Not vilified. They were persecuted, and they had a church. The little church around the corner is a place where.
too. Very sensitive people.
The little church around the corner was established for the poor artists that if you were an artist, you weren't allowed into polite society of the church or the establishment because you were thought of as a charlatan.
Yeah.
You weren't being real.
Or a cross-dresser.
Yeah,
you know, sometimes the company required a woman and they didn't have a woman. She'd dress up or vice versa. So, whatever, it's all a lot of fun. Yeah. Listen, we're here in a cosmic game, Harold. Let's get back to reality.
Reality, okay.
Reality.
I'm not sure it's worth getting back to. But
no, reality is we're spiritual beings. We are. Now, you have trouble with that, but I have to prove to you that by the simple reality, I'm not a cadaver. I'm a spirit.
No, you're part of a skeleton.
I am moving.
Yeah.
I'm a breathing thing because I have spirit in me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
so you can't deny spirit as reality. Well, spirit is real. Even though it's invisible to us,
I would like a definition of term. What do you mean by spirit? You got a life force in you. Yeah, and evolution did happen, and but it all can be understood without any repair to a higher overarching reality like God or spirit. It's just part of an evolutionary process that can be understood, particularly just secular humanism. It can be understood without all the creation stories that have been created throughout all of human history.
Well, of course, we're not going to worry about that, but supposedly humankind is about 100, maybe 200,000 years old.
More, 200,000 seems to be what's coming up.
All right, wonderful. The idea is that in this past 30 years, since actually 1970 or so, well, actually it was 1987 to 2012, the harmonic convergence and the alignment, that was the capsule time of the shifting of the new awareness. Because you think about it, we no longer have to worry about a paternity, killing each other for honor. We just paternity cert, come check your blood. We map the gene code, the DNA, and the way we can internet all across the world. We have a new consciousness, and the kids going forward have a new reality. That is, it used to be realpolitik of might is right, and if I'm stronger, I'm better than you, and I have more money, I'm more powerful.
It still is, Frank. That's what runs the world. The world is still run not on anything like justice or anything like that. It's run on who's ever got the weapon systems can conquer the other, and they do. They establish their pecking order in the world according to who's got the weapons, so that they can intimidate or co-opt other peoples of the world and have their system as part, and that's still working in terms of
No. I love you, Harold. You're beautiful, but you're thinking like an old macho man, and that's nonsense. That's not reality. That's never been reality.
You don't think it is?
It's been an illusion. You see, because the king eats more better food than the pawn, the pauper. But actually, he dies of syphilis or whatever misery and grief. He can't take all his gold with him. And the poor guy has heard a lot more laughter and thank yous in his life than the rich guy.
Well, that's back to Cervantes.
And as a spiritual being, and the experience of living a life on earth is an experience that we look upon and our memories. We're a collection of memories and plans and actions that we deduct as we go as thinking human beings. And whether we have lots of money or little money determines what direction we're going to take, and whether we're afraid or love to go here or there.
Well, tell me something. You said that you took and said that there's war no more. I don't know how you can say that when that's exactly what's going on in terms of the international order, and that it's still run on the principle of real. There's two ways of doing it. Political scientists will say real politics. Be real. You said to me, let's be real rather than ideological or what could be or justice or any of those kind of things that have been richly ignored by political classes all throughout history and continue to be.
Okay.
The realities of what could be possible in terms of a larger ontology or a larger understanding that the artists make available, and so or the artistic community, is ignored by the political class. Witness the current situation in the world that you are so an objection to, right? It's still just who's got the power.
No, but wait a second.
However you define the establishment of legitimate power.
Let me explain about real power. You see, this is yesterday's paper, and they're talking about the kids that were massacred, and there is a war as we speak. There's drones and bombs and kids crying in Pakistan and in Afghanistan and in Iraq, thanks to these gangsters in power that have stolen the election in 2000.
Jerusalem,
and unfortunately, these people are the criminals, and they think they're in power.
They are in power.
No, they think they're in power.
Well, okay,
and they are exercising the illusion of killing people in Pakistan and Afghanistan as we speak.
Yeah, and they're doing it.
And leaving Iraq. Iraq in the dust.
Yeah.
You know, at least Japan and Germany had a real Marshall Plan, and they rebuilt those countries
after
properly.
the war,
so now they're really strong, beautiful economies and thriving countries. But Iraq is just devastated by the graft and corruption of Halliburton.
Yeah.
With this weirdo who has like 4 or 5 hearts or an artificial pump. Cheney, he's not even human.
Cheney's like a
he's just some sort of strange murdering maniac.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's not human. I've suspended belief in him having even a human heart. And I'm not worried about him, but I like it to pray for him, and he find Christ consciousness. And if he does or does not, that's his problem. It's even though if I was Iraqi and as an American, I'm suffering under this perverted man's bloated ego and massive fortune. He's a multi-billionaire, multi-billionaire.
Well, that's all right.
But moral crime to be a
with
billionaire.
all due respect, that might make it possible for us to get back to you've spent a lot of time in Spain, Barcelona, Gaudi, and
I grew up
and
in
also
Barcelona,
you know, you grew up in Barcelona. You speak Spanish like English, and all of that and everything. And Cervantes was great, and he said there's 2 classes of people: haves and have-nots. We never talk about that in any kind of serious term except a throwaway line or something. And how do we define that? And I don't know how else you could define the current situation other than the reification of outdated institutions based upon the everlasting principle that who's got power rules, and who's got power is determined primarily by the people who have a weapon system that give them advantage over another group, like the Plains Indians could not stand up to the European. There was no way they could do that. Or let's say the Palestinians in Jerusalem now cannot stand up to the overwhelming power of a completely supported Zionist Israel or something, and they want to go and bomb a thing over in Iran. It's still just a matter of who's got the power economically or militarily. And look at our bloated military budget and everything that is sacrosanct.
Forget it. There's not even a budget anymore. How come we ever going to catch up with $1 trillion in debt?
How can you say we're not
Reagan pushed us into tremendous debt and with the world empire search, and now we're in this $1 trillion debt. And it's ridiculous.
Trillions.
No, let's get back to reality and
power.
Well,
back to reality.
Reality is that we're spiritual beings and that we're eternal.
No, that's okay.
We're energy.
I don't know what that means.
Harold, we are spiritual beings.
What does that mean, spiritual beings? What do you mean?
We are spirit borrowing a body.
What does that mean?
It means that we're just energy incarnate.
Well, everything
we're physicalized human biochemical experiments of the universe.
We can
evolving.
Yeah, we are. And now you're talking something that has a ring of some sort of really scientific validity and so forth to do it. Evolving. We're part of an evolutionary context of evolution in universe that can be understood with nothing spiritual. There's nothing spiritual that has to be included in order to understand the evolution of all of the earth and the universe. And it includes humanity as one part of that apexing part of that evolution of consciousness in the universe. Doesn't have to have anything about some spirit or anything about spiritual. It can be understood in strictly materialistic terms. I had my DNA done. Did you know that, Frank?
Oh, wonderful.
I had it done, and it's markers. DNA, where did that come from? Watson and Crick is coming to a quickening where we're coming more and more to have an understanding in intellectual terms.
You trace where, back to Africa?
Well, it was because we all are African.
Right.
All of humanity is African.
Yeah, man. We're all African-American, man.
And it goes, and Frankie, it's a scientific thing. Me as an individual related to an individual, as I understand it, Spencer Wells, who lived as an individual 60,000 years ago in what is now Abyssinia or Ethiopia.
Well,
that's scientific markers. We have markers that we can trace scientifically with secular understanding of the evolution of the material world that would include us and not have anything to do with anything that you call spiritual. You're just taking spiritual. It's all the good things.
Shh, please, may I interject?
Yes.
I appreciate it if you just let me get a word in edgewise.
Get a word in edgewise with Craven? Are you crazy? There's no chance. I can't get a word in edgewise.
Well, you know, I want to just explain the fact that obviously we're spiritual beings borrowing a body, and it's not obvious to you. That's okay. But in reality, you know the deal. You're a living, breathing creature. When you stop breathing, that invisible force called life life will finish.
Well, that
now,
can be
that's
understood.
energy, right?
No, that's energy. It can be understood
energy,
in secular terms. It doesn't have to be anything overarching spiritual. That's all I'm saying.
Fine.
It does exist. We can understand it intellectually. We couldn't do it until just yesterday did we have the intellectual understanding of the material world that made it possible for us to begin to wake up intellectually to how we came to be and what the universe is all about. And it doesn't have to be any arching ontology or God or any of the creation stories that they came up with to deal with the self-reflective consciousness that evolved in Homo sapien.
All right,
That's
that's exactly what I'm saying in my book, Two Comedies on God, a God in quotation marks. You can buy it at Amazon. It's a comedy on God. This whole thing about religion and God is a joke we play on ourselves.
Religion
but
the political
institution. Power, real power, is the fact that I may not be mega wealthy and rich as I would like a normal person wants to have tons of money and have all this power to...
Back to Cervantes. We need some definition of terms.
I do have the power because I on a regular basis enjoy hearing laughter. I enjoy hearing thank you.
Yeah.
And when I hear people say thank you to me, or I hear them laugh,
thank you,
as a performer, or as an artist, or as a musician.
Yeah, right.
I have a trunk full of memories that makes my life rich.
You and George M. Cohan.
Yeah, so a person who's focused on wealth and money and now, and is worried about paying the bills and fronting it, they're a slave to
most people are slaves.
The economic paradigm.
Most people are and have been slaves or serfs, like to the few who had all the political clout and economic clout throughout all of human history, as far as we can tell, and that we may be approaching a time when there can be a new, but you can't do it just politically. It's almost have to be, we're coming evolutionarily to a transformation in universe.
Right.
Like on the, like punctuated equilibrium.
Well,
the
now
new
is the
relationship
time of contact.
of contact, but not with some other creatures that have been out there or something, but just coming right out of the evolutionary context like we came out of Homo habilis.
Right.
Okay?
Well, yeah,
so we know
like
that
blossom,
now.
The chrysalis opens up and then comes a butterfly. Always that,
That's true.
And little eggs sprout and the birds use their wings, and human beings too transform from their consciousness and grow into a whole new awareness, like a flower opening up. The Om Mani Padme Om is that behold the jewel of the lotus flower. Our Khan chakra opens up and we are awakened. And to be awakened is something we sort of close off. If I know your deal, my deal, and I use my telepathy, the game's over. There's no game. So we have the veil of ignorance on purpose. But we can't give ourselves permission to open our third eye. We just tap our pineal gland and give ourselves permission and open it up. And we open up and activate all our glands and all of our organisms unconsciously. A trillion cells or 50 trillion cells.
No, 100. It's about,
working in harmony.
It's about 100 trillion cells in the human organism. Probably something like 90% of those are bacteria in the gut. But 100 trillion cells, every cell matters. They all interrelate with one another. A miracle of DNA. Every cell is related to every other. The pancreas to the heart to the head to everything. And it works as a system.
And the idea of cloning has proven that they replicate each other. And they're like a hologram of each other. And they're within each other. And each you can take one cell and we can grow our limbs back. Even in this photography, a person who's missing his hand has the whole hand, the memory, cellular memory there. And we will be doing this when we're ready. And we're ready when we give ourselves permission and are ready to do this.
No, we're going to be ready in terms of understanding evolution. We couldn't have done that in the 15th century. We couldn't have done it in the 16th century. We couldn't have done it in the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th century.
We're witnessing. That's why 1970 is year one.
I think so. I believe that. I don't know. The case could be made for that.
Next 500 years from now, next 1,000 years from now.
Yeah, well, Carl Sagan said we get to civilization one along about 40 years from now. Michio Kaku's string theory and that. But isn't it amazing to think that we may live, we were born into the generation, and particularly the youth coming along, we're born into the defining generation of an evolutionary process 200,000 years old, that is coming to a time of qualitative, like Like a gestation in a human being is 9 months. It's not 10 months. It's not 8 months. It's not 7.5. It's
Right.
9, 22 in an elephant. We've come to a time of not just a quantitative change where there's a political change. You get a tax rate or something like that they argue and are fighting over with weapons that could kill the whole species, or they have ability to liberate in a way that never has been possible throughout all of human history and its
Hallelujah.
existence. Okay.
Thank you, God.
Yeah,
It's
we've
about
transcended
time. Yes.
material scarcity. That to have been born into that defining generation
Right.
is an
And let's do
a credible privilege and also a pain. The Chinese warn against being born into interesting times, because these are the most interesting time to have been the generation, if we're at that point of qualitative transformation, liberation, the end time
Right.
of a long process. That's all I'm saying. So all of your things that you're saying are there. But listen, we're off on a lot of different things. I still think it'd be good to get some definition of what Mr. Cervantes meant by a have and a have-not, and what are the percentages of the world population within an ecological order that could be realistically seen at the level of capability as a have. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by a transcending scarcity? But that's another issue, you know.
Yeah. Well,
but anyway,
let's look at yesterday's paper right away, right here in the
right out
opening
of the
page,
Daily
just for
News.
fun here. They poke fun at Tiger Woods with this guy, and his wife jumps ships to another ship and says, "Oh yes, his is longer," referring to the sexual organ, and obviously he's got a bigger yacht. So this is the guy who has a lot. Tiger Woods, again, like Obama, this pseudo black man who's forgotten 400 years of chains and slavery and his people, and like Oprah Winfrey, a shameful billionaire
Did you ever see
who doesn't care but amasses massive wealth, and meanwhile Mumia's in jail, and people are being arrested, especially blacks, in a slave labor prison.
I know, stop
and we're in a horrendous situation of penal code reform that needs to be reformed.
Yeah.
Because we're in a slave labor plantation situation.
Yeah, we are. It's
and
like a plantation.
We're suffering chemtrails. What is that?
Well,
And we're suffering fake foods and fake medicines. And then an age-old herb and weed, and all kinds of weeds are beautiful and healing, and they grow around different people's houses, offering Mother Nature gives us what we need, and we can forage and eat them. And what do? They arrest people, and they want you to take herbicides. We're in a society dictated by the big pharma lobbies and about 17 corporations that don't pay taxes. They're subsidized. So these are criminal traders to America that outsource their jobs, don't pay taxes, and enjoy school shootings on a regular basis.
Keep your mind on the camera. You're a movie producer and an actor.
People to be aware that we live with a gangster government. And we're talking to the general public at large that the goon squads and the police and the military are pawns of this pseudo president and government that is skirting the responsibility as humans in helping society.
Yeah, if we were to make a thing where, do you think if we're going to make it, as they say, to where we're not going to take the obvious destiny of stopping consciousness in the universe, if that's possible, that it would be a thing. Do you think we could have an understanding where
they don't want critical thinking though in schools? This country, like as I said, I grew up in Spain, so I speak different languages, and so does South Africa. Most Europeans speak 4 or 5 languages. Here they don't want they even Djibouti, or your friend Nita Renfrew, she told me, they should obviously that we don't want 34 million Hispanic households speaking fluent Spanish or Americans fluent in their language.
But what I'm going to get, and then we want to hear you play your guitar.
No, you don't have to play.
No, I want you to play. I want you. Oh, okay. No, but do you think it would be that if we get to a situation where there's always been a dialectic, in order for one group to win, the other one has to lose? That's part of it. You win. And then they have political.
We live in a win-win situation. That's the new growth of the divine feminine.
Now, what I'm trying to get to you.
That's what Buckminster Fuller was talking about.
All right, Bucky Fuller did talk this way more than you are. And what I'm saying is you're giving an indictment, because you could look at every single institution that exists in the world, and they're all out of date in terms of the future. What the future allows and the future requires. They require a liberated humanity that can be concerned with the arts and with the things that really matter, rather than keeping track of debt ratios and all the rest of the kind of thing they do out of history, because there's never enough. So do you think we could have a system, an operating manual for Spaceship Earth, that takes into account the context that is positively now available to us where it never has been, so that we could have something that would be not only liberating of the masses of the people and the ecology within an ecological order, but also be included those who are responsible for the outdated institutions like our political leadership, so that everybody wins. You don't have to tear anybody down. You don't have to kill Louis XVI in order to make a revolution. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That we may be able to have something that would include everybody, including the leaders of the political order that we call the establishment, or they claim political and evolutionary leadership in the world. So you could include the bad guys, including all the bad guys
sure.
that you're doing an indictment
I don't want to
of.
have them suffer their own medicine and be waterboarded. You know, to give them, let them go off for the yachts, let them go golfing. These fools can jerk off with all they want, no problem. The important thing, like the Trent guy, what was his name, Speaker of the House years ago, he wanted to eliminate the endowment to the arts.
Yeah.
And,
well, they're cutting back on the arts and everything.
And that's ridiculous because
we don't need it. We need people who...
Our best ambassador worldwide. They love our movies. They love our arts and our music and everybody's
our public
dancing.
access television program.
It's like, yeah, it's what makes us rock and roll. It's what makes us applauded and loved and people pray for us.
Yeah, well, Louis,
our arts, but you know what they do? They think they got the power and they just want to focus on their military might.
It's all on military and economics.
They're drunk on this situation.
Yeah, right.
Like boys
and they're
playing with
also
firecrackers.
nervous. They're also nervous.
They've got to blow off their missiles in Iraq and Afghanistan. We've outgrown Nevada deserts, so we test them out in Iraq or Afghanistan. And also, they're looking to try to dig into the Khyber Pass and the pipeline to China, and all they're really interested is using Mother Earth as a resource for minerals, for gas and oil when she needs
and
it.
profit.
We respect her Mother Earth, and we respect each other. We're going to respect life and not kill. Like Jimmy Carter was commander-in-chief of World War II submarine.
He never fought a war.
But he knew diplomacy and trade, and so no foreign soldier died under his thing. He put solar panels on the White House. He let the Sandinistas take over Nicaragua.
First thing Mr. Reagan did was take those solar panels down.
Yeah, they reversed all that.
Yeah,
they created a cesspool of politics and warfare in Central America. And these people are just warmongers, and they're vultures. They feed off of cadavers.
Now you're back to condemning them rather than they're going to be part of the grand scheme. That you're going to be all part of the same thing.
I have to condemn them because they're enjoying their golf. And while, you know, Celeste Victoria, who taught me editing in M&N, was a single mom. She had to decide to jump 80 floors or get burned to a crisp on World Trade Center.
Celeste
and other
beautiful.
friends. And 343 firemen died on September 11th. And 100,000 Iraq veterans and Afghani veterans are dying from Gulf War syndrome, radioactive waste, depleted uranium, and suicide. Shell shock as a result of this malfeasance fiasco from Department of Defense free no lid no bid contracts to Halliburton that was trading at $12 a share in 2002, and then after the invasion in 2003 went up to $80 a share. And it's obvious that you know, like CEO of Halliburton, Cheney, he was at the helm during 9/11, and he was, you know, the Air Force went one way while the criminal plane went that way. And you know, instead of evacuating the school in a public situation, emergency, as the protocols of security should have done, they leave them in because they knew it wasn't a surprise attack. You know, that's why that painting I wrote, I did called "Never Forget the Pet Goat."
The pet goat,
right? They were reading the pet goat in public during the tragedy. America supposedly under attack. Even the Pentagon. How could the Pentagon be attacked? There's a question to open and shut right there, obviously.
Yeah, but
and not only the Pentagon, but the place that the accounting department, where $2.something trillion Donald Rumsfeld announced on September 10th that, we're missing this amount of money. And those looking into it, and the SEALs, there's good guys and bad guys in the FBI and the CIA. They were all like shuffled off and everything, and there were war games going on. So the air defense had to shut down. And who authorizes war games? Who creates it? So obviously we know Cheney was at the helm and behind this, and all the neocons who signed the PNAC document of the Project for New American Century, they signed their own death warrant in my book. These people have premeditated murder on their mind, and they allowed for people to be killed on September 11th and continue to kill people in Iraq and Afghanistan on an ongoing basis, and kill us with this bailing out the banks of the public treasury, but not bailing out student loans.
Yeah, but we just got into the soliloquy, Mr. Hamlet, Mr. Will Shakespeare, that and everything like that, Agincourt or something. But but you were there doing an indictment of the bad guys that we just had agreed to are going to have to somehow be included in the overall operating of the whole system, so that you're indicting them rather than trying to see how can they be included on their own terms as you should be included.
No, not on their terms. On our terms, on Occupy Wall Street, on the Arab Spring, on the human
now you're into
Vox
dialect.
Populi.
Now you're into
consensus.
You're into
I'm into truth. I'm into truth, Harold, and 9/11 truth, and the Vox Populi, the Occupy movement, where we all raised our hands and said it's called consensus. How can we trust the computer to tally our vote? Come on, the Green Party had a beautiful platform, and they were eggnogged. We had to go with Obama or Mitt Romney or whatever knucklehead plays the game in a Republican-Democrat shuffle game. But the computers do not give us true consensus.
How are we going to include the people that are in that position doing all of these things that you're indicting? Is the dialectical materialism. The bad is overthrown by the good or something. But how are you going to be where the necessity of including everybody, including the people that are responsible for all these evils that you're getting off on attacking because they're them and you're good, they're bad. That kind of thinking.
No.
How
it's already done. It's already done, Harold.
Oh, it's already done?
There is no time, really. There is a time if you want to think about that way, but in reality there's no time because we're eternity. We recycled energy. And so they're going to be laughed off into oblivion as they realize the error of their ways and recognize the folly of their materialistic pursuit and pseudo-power.
But the trouble is that the rally of their folly could be a thing because they've got their finger on that button that could stop evolution in universe.
No, well, that's
no,
not.
They're the one.
You
can't do that.
No, I don't want to do that either.
Something
no one wants to do that.
It isn't something that would happen.
That's not going to happen.
And
forget about that idea of the scenario of blowing up the world.
It's
that's completely absurd.
No, I think that's being unrealistic to do that.
No.
It is the question. It exists.
All right, it exists, the possibility. Like you have a gun in your house, and you can take it out and shoot me, or shoot it yourself, or whatever. Yeah, but it's not going to happen.
Well, you say
just
that
because you have a gun doesn't mean, or you have a bar doesn't mean you're going to get drunk.
Did you ever read *The Guns of August* by Barbara Tuchman and the killing of the Archduke and everything like that?
Okay.
And you're not talking about that. That negative scenario has nothing to do with your vaunted reality, your rationality. Has nothing to do with it's ancient fears, it's ancient things that are set off, it's things where something gets done and that triggers this and that triggers that unexpectedly.
Well, sure, and that's the game of cause and effect.
So in order, if only to have them avoid that, then they ought to become enlightened as to an alternative way in which capital can be formed, things can be done, that would be able to be inclusive of everybody in the ecology and them on their own terms. And how can we come up with some sort of an operating manual for Spaceship Earth that truly relates to the emerging reality coming out of an evolutionary process that calls for qualitative transformation looking forward in time?
We get that by listening and observing the crop circles, our elders, our teachers. Now, in the tribal council, the indigenous First Peoples way is to hear the whole council in the medicine wheel and decide whether we're going to war with that tribe or not, or how we're going to move the campment. And they take decisions by consensus and listening to the elders.
Okay, that's what we should do.
And that way, as in a committee, in a town hall meeting, that's authentic and not dictated by some moderator or the goon squad.
That would call for some new institutions.
Have a consensus of what's right versus what's wrong. If we have a proper board meeting that's web streamed, the magic word is transparency. If we have accountability and transparency, we'll have an honest business and we'll be able to trust. The trust factor. Bankers trust is the idea. I trust you with the money, you trust me. And the Jews always got over because they're always davening and praying, and they had the money throughout history. A letter of credit from a Jewish bank made it, whereas most bankers made off with the gold and everything. And in the history of the Jews is very powerful because they've been persecuted throughout history. And why? For many reasons. But the reality is that we understand everything. We already know, and it's all just a game. And karma's over. We used to have obligatory karma for evolutionary to find the balance because this is what we truly believe. But now that we're in the divine feminine instead of the macho masculine, because the spirit of the earth, the kundalini's moved from from the Himalayan mountains over to the Andes chain, and now we're in the divine feminine, and going forward, we know everything already. We've mapped the gene code, the DNA, all the technologies there, all the wisdoms, all the secrets of the libraries of Alexandria are already at our fingertips.
I think they were burned.
No, but the truth is we understand, and we can understand everything, and there's no more need to prove ourselves, and no more need to suffer.
Well, okay.
And in reality, so if you want to have 1 million properties and a multi-million dollars, you can, and you can juggle all that and suffer with all your BS.
All right,
or you can be part of the real game and have an ongoing joyride full of love and music and happiness with your family and friends and people. You know, and be like a happy-go-lucky president, glad-handing everybody in an open limousine and waving and shaking hands.
Or a pope.
Or being surrounded in bulletproof casings with marshals all around and be a prisoner of your own paranoia.
Okay, back to
as Bush and Cheney and Obama are in there because they're war presidents. They believe in killing people, which is a murderer's mentality. There's a collective heartache in this country and around the world that America is like the new Nazi world empire,
well, there's a danger
killing people with its military bases all over the world and impulsing its dramatic machismo.
You're my dear friend and everything. I think you should try not to keep it all inside. You should express yourself every once in a while rather than being such a wilting flower. But anyway, back again to Cervantes, with all due respect, haves and have-nots, and he was of a Spanish background. We got about 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe you could play something on that guitar that would spring of Spain, something of Spain or Andalusia, or something that would be relative to our Cervantes, who we began talking about. Go ahead, Will. You got a couple minutes. No, play something that really, you know, like something you could dance to, you know, like they do, you know, like Andalusia, you know. Cervantes.
Yo soy jilguero, yo soy jilguero, y te quiero cantar una canción. Porque te quiero, toma mi corazón. The gypsies use the guitar as a percussion instrument too, and they have like 5 picks on their fingers. And they slap the guitar. And they have blood on it and everything. Up in Phoenicia, I got an homage to experimental guitars.
That's where they go on the inner tubes.
With the blood all over the place, and the idea they play all night.
Yeah, but don't talk. Play, for crying out loud. Play. We got about a minute left. Play.
Well, thank you, Harold.
Yeah, and really go.
Allow me to hang my art there, and allow me to be on your show and
Tiger
share my insights.
Did you ever see Tiger
Woods? The fact that we've transcended scarcity. We are free.
All right, make up some words.
We are free. We've always been free because our spirit is free if we can think. We're critical thinkers. We're allowed to analyze and ask questions. And that's why in the 70s there was an expansion of mind and, you know, expanding drugs, and it was healthy. Now they have these pseudo drugs that dummy us down. The school shootings and the authorized terrible psychotropics.
Okay, well, play us out, as they say, Frank, in the big league television. Welcome to a conversation with Frank Craven, artist extraordinaire, a member of the MNN team, Manhattan Neighborhood Network. We thank you.
What's ailing Healing America, Friday nights at 9:30.
Friday night, 9:30, channel 34 on Time Warner.
A question we have a right and duty to ask.
Streamed to the internet on the graces of the exponentially emerging cybernetic capability to communicate to all the wide world. Thank you very much for viewing, and thank you, Frank, for coming in. Now take us out hard now. Come on, it was strong finish.
Vamos!
Strong finish. Vámonos, vámonos, vámonos. Arriba, arriba.
Woodstock lives. John Lennon lives. Jimi Hendrix lives. The world lives. We carry on.
Okay.
Like maniacs.
Okay, you can stop now because the tape is over. You know, you can stop any time now, Frank. You can just run, you know, just stop any time now. You can just stop. Okay. But no, that's it. Okay. Yeah, you can stop him, please. Okay. Here, don't lose your lighter, pal.
Oh, wow. What do you think? We got another exciting show off the ground.
Another show off the ground, yeah. Did it go? I'm Mike.
Thank you, Harold. That was fun.
Yeah.
And I apologize if I monopolized the conversation.
Well, what's new?
But you got your points in. I don't think I helped to argue them.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
But you know what? I want to carry the conversation on. You don't seem to get it.
I don't know what you get.
We're enlightened. We are free.
Who's we? Who's we?
Humanity.
I wish that were I wish I was so sure that's the case.
We are. We haven't.
Well,
yeah, humanity.
I hope you're right. Obviously.
Why did they were occupying Wall Street? How did they kick out the in Egypt? They got rid of Mubarak because they suddenly got, instead of 1,000 years of submissions, they suddenly woke up to the fact that we are.
Listen, we got other people coming, and we got to get out of here.
Hey, hello, sister. Good to see you. Wonderful.
Hey.